Hello and welcome to the next episode of Digital Twin Podcast. We will talk about 10 reasons why the digitalization process failed in B2B. Stay tuned. Digital Twin Podcast is a place where technology and business is going hand in hand.
If you are thinking about digitalizing your company, you found the right place.
Podcast is hosted by Adrian Stelmach, consultant who implements IT solutions for manufacturing companies.
And Paul Pachovich, industrial digitalization expert, who helps global companies to optimize production processes.
Okay, so without any delays, let's start with the first reason, which is lack of digital strategy and lack of board support.
Yeah, this is the one that I get to work with the most, I guess. I feel like everything that happens within digital transformation, it happens very randomly. It's not really planned. There's always 10,000 ideas of how to digitalize, what area should be digitalized, but it's never really a part of a digital strategy, because even if organization has several people responsible for digital transformation, it usually never consists of organized tasks that make a bigger sense.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on it?
I think we should treat digital transformation as a part of a strategy the same as we treat marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every year we have a specific marketing strategy, we have budgets and so on. We have a specific group of people which are working on it. And the same should be with digital transformation. So it's not like we are changing one or other tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like part of a bigger vision and part actually of a DNA of the organization. Okay, so the next one.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one is super connected to the first one, which is the lack of defined budget, right? So when you're thinking about digitalization and you don't have a budget, that means you don't really have like a roadmap of what you're planning to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, okay, if something comes up, yeah, let's find a budget for that. But usually, if there is no dedicated budget or defined budget, it's very difficult to do anything, because you have to first think of what you want to do, and then you have to get the budget, which always takes time. It's not the easiest thing to do if you don't plan for it, right?
Yeah, I think the problem is about making estimates
Mm-hmm.
of budgets, because we're not sure what should be done first,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we don't have like a clear-cut vision,
Mm-hmm.
a roadmap, which we know exactly step by step which part of the company we should take care on in specific time, we don't have budget, right? So I think after a few years of implementing like a clear-cut vision of digitalization in any kind of area or any kind of business, because it could be related with banking, it could be related with production and manufacturing. We're working with manufacturing companies, so most of examples we have from them. But if more I think about it, more I think, okay, it could be also related with any kind of business, right?
Sure. Like, I think the lack of defined budget has some other consequences. Like, if you don't do that, you don't really know how much money you need to actually keep up to date.
Mm-hmm.
Because from my experience, all the companies that I have met, they all have this vision of being super digitalized and keeping up with energy consumption or whatever. But on the other hand, they don't really know how much that would cost, right? Mm-hmm. So not defining the budget, not defining the goal, which you mentioned at the beginning, this is the main problem, because then usually you don't have enough money, you don't have enough budget to actually make your goals happen, or actually keep up to date with all the other companies on the market. So they are super correlated. So the lack of defined budget plus not enough money in the budget, I think this is what's killing most of those processes. As if there's no money, you're always gonna go for a solution that is probably not most optimal for you.
Yeah.
Right. Third one for today.
Sure.
You want me to do it? Lack of this knowledge, lack of know-how, lack of expertise, I think is killing a lot of projects, or killing, or just making them not successful, which is even more terrible, because killing the project is one thing, but not delivering the project according to specification, not making it successful, it has at least two different consequences. The first one is the money that have been lost. Second, the time that has been lost.
Yeah. So lack of knowledge is related with two things, right? So first thing is that, which we said before. So we don't. I mean, implementing new technology is always expensive. You have to say that. It's not like you can do something with 2,000 euros, right? Which will absolutely change your business. Okay, you can do it, but in the short term, not exactly in the long term. But you have a choice, right? You can build an in-house team, which will, for example, implement ERP for you, or you can choose a team from outside. You can you can hire a specific company which will implement what you want and do a strategy for you as well. But for me, the most efficient ways, which I experienced in the past, is the hybrid solution. So you have a team or company or companies which are from outside, which you are using when you exactly want to use them. So you don't pay the entire monthly paychecks for them, but only as a project way. So you have a fixed price when you can pay them, and also people inside of the organization which are the managers of the entire process, and which implement the entire communication strategy, which is much as important as the technology itself.
Yeah. Okay. So you talked about the knowledge and expertise of internal people, plus using some external resources whenever you need them. The other thing that I think is important for this point is the communication issues, and I would say it's not always about the company that is helping with digitalization. It's not always about the communication between those two companies. It's sometimes even internal issues, like internal communication, and we can probably talk about some real life examples in that. I have seen several cases when, let's say, it's a big company that has like internal IT services, internal IT department, and in order for you to actually be able to digitalize process in that company, you need to collaborate with that IT department. And if that IT department is not willing to cooperate with you, or if they say they would do something, but then the simple thing, because of the cybersecurity and everything, takes months, then the whole project is in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, so the fourth one is the low flexibility in implementation. And what I think it is because we are used to projects like they have a beginning, they have an end, they have exact plan, right? So we know exactly step by step how the project should be implemented. But if you see for example, Industry 4.0 projects or IT projects, it is impossible to plan everything on the beginning, right? Even if you tell, okay, I want to outsource all of that, it's impossible because every company is different. You have a different people inside, right? You have a different management team. You have a different market. And because of that, if you combine that together, it means that you have a one and only strategy which will work inside of your company, which cannot be copied in another place. You can copy like a specific, I would say, schedule. You can do a specific steps which have to be done, but it doesn't necessarily mean that exactly the entire program should work. That's why you cannot work with waterfall, for example, in Industry 4.0 projects. You have to be more focused on agile way.
I think you should never work with the waterfall approach. Never ever. And then if I may say something about this point is I think every project should have a project manager. Every project should have a person that is kind of making sure that it's all going in the right direction, especially, based on what you said. You can never predict everything. There will be always new information that becomes available during the process, and that project manager is crucial for every single project, especially if we're talking about Industry 4.0. There's so many different things that may change during the process. So every single project needs a project manager, and this low flexibility that you mentioned, I think this means that there was no dedicated project manager, or the project manager for that particular project didn't do a good job. That's why with time we go over the time, we go over the budget, and it just causes so many problems.
Yeah, one thing is the budget, because you need to have a fixed budget for the project, but it's much better to make not like a specific project, like, I don't know, you want to change, you want to buy 3 robots, right? It could be a project, but it's way different that you want to buy like a specific machine or a few robots. Then if you want to, for example, implement the entire digitalization of paper reporting inside of your company, right? This is way different. So of course the manager have a crucial position over here, the digitalization transformation manager, for example. But I think the problems of low flexibility is often goes from the board, right? Because this is people which are deciding about the boundaries of the very often about the digitalization project. So the manager is the one who is making the work done, and he's trying to put things together. But the information and the scope goes from upper.
Sure. Let's jump to number 5, which is I don't want to say my favorite, but it's called change management, right? Before you implement any change, you have to kind of prepare the organization. Plus, during the process of change, you have to maintain this proper relationship, between the company that implements changes and internal employees. Anything to add here with the change management?
Yeah, I think every one of us are fear if there's any kind of a change, right? We have changes are surrounding us. We have inflation. We have different decisions about which is related with legislation, for example. And also, if we go to work, we know that one day someone goes and tell us, okay, you should do the work in this way. It could be customer. It could be our someone, our boss, and technology is changing the world since hundreds of years, right? But since like every year we feel like this curve of how the technology impacts our lives is getting faster and faster, right? So I think the problem is that we're used to changes like it was a linear process, like it was like 20, 30, 50 years ago. So we didn't see the change day by day, right? We see if you stop like 20 years ago and 21 years ago, you see the change year by year, but you didn't see the changes daily. Now the process of change is much more faster, right? every phone is like having like it's working way different at the previous one, right? The same with updates on our computers and so on. So I think every business, the fundamentals are people always, and you have to understand that those people doesn't necessarily understand the business goals of the entire organization, and that they don't understand the bigger picture and the scope every time. So it's very important to prepare a clear-cut strategy exactly for them, to show why you implement this kind of changes, right? So why you choose robotization over something else, right? Why in this area you wanna make robotization? Why company needs, for example, ERP system, and why people needs to get input data inside of it? And if you really focus on the change management and do it by like by the book, you can say, people will be with you.
Sure. So, long story short, people will most likely resist the change that is being implemented, and if you don't address that, then it will be terrible for the project itself. So,
Yeah.
think of what's about to change, how is this going to affect employees, and prepare employees for the change, and in the process make sure that they are okay with it and they understand exactly what you said. They understand what's the outcome and how is that gonna affect their lives and their work in a positive manner.
Yeah.
Number 6. Number 6. The lack of established standards. I think this is something that we can discuss a little more. I can give a real life example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that all the decisions have been, all the digitalization decisions have been made in a way that was not standardized. There was no standards for all those decisions, and with time, it happens that it's impossible to integrate all the systems that are within the company. And if the standards were set to all the software that we will purchase, even if it's out of the box software, needs to have this possibility to connect that with all the other like with the ERP system. This is actually, that happens very often, that the some of the solutions, they will not integrate with the existing solutions, and at the end of the day, it's it's money that you spend already, and then you just have to do it again.
I think the other thing is that every system, every robot, every PLC, every machine needs to be maintained, right? So it's not like you buy it and that's the entire cost. You need to have people who can manage if there's some problems with it. And if you don't have standards, it means that you have different systems in your company, but for each of them, probably you need a different maintenance team. And this is a big problem because, first of all, people which are inside of the company, they have to have really a lot of knowledge from different systems and different machines. Second one is that you have a lot of outsource companies which you have to pay to make the maintenance. The other thing is, if something goes wrong, for example, you have a robot which is not standard, you can say, or PLC maybe, or a computer which is not standard, and it breaks. It means that you need to like have it on your warehouse, and it costs. So if you have standards, for example, PC, and it could be even a laptop, right? So everyone in the company have exactly the same laptop. You don't have the problem that if a specific one breaks, you need to have exactly same one in the warehouse. And you can adjust this example to any kind of hardware or software in the company.
Absolutely. The next one, number 7, it's it's the lack of openness to be integrated as a system, and we kind of mentioned address that in point number 6. But I'm just thinking, what else can we say here? Like an example, or what to think of, how to actually prepare, or how to make sure that all the software that we'll purchase in the future will integrate with the systems that we have, because we most likely have several of those systems, right? How do we find the common ground for all of those systems to communicate?
So like, first thing is that you have to ask yourself, if you want a specific functionality, do you really need another system, like a new one, or you can implement it in existing ones? More you have in existing ones, it means, like we said before, less maintenance work is needed and less problems with integration. Because if you have like let's say you have planning in another system, specific system for planning, you have ERP as another system, MES as another system. So you have 3 ones. You make change in one, you have to make change in every 3 of them, right? So this is cost. It means costs. Another thing is that you have to make sure that you have a control under it. It means that you have codes for those programs, for machines, for example, right? Or you have agreement which makes sure that the system have an open API. So if you wanna, I don't know, take something more from existing one, the system is ready for that, right? So I think this is the most important one.
Sure. Let's let's jump to number 8. That's another favorite topic, my favorite topic, because whenever you're thinking of in the digitalization of manufacturing, you're probably not thinking about the UX UI of that solution and approach, right? What do you think? The number 8 is the understanding of user needs. So the user experience and user interface of the solution that you're creating, because very often the decisions are happening on the higher level, like C-level people are deciding, yeah, I think that would be good, but nobody's really doing the research or talking to the people that will be the end user of that solution.
I think very often the programmers are focusing mainly on how it works, but now how it looks like. And they don't think in categories like there's someone who will be, using the system, right? So it have to be fast. If I want, if I have a operating system for my computer, for example, I need to do. I don't need to spend a lot of time to thinking. Okay, where is that? Right? Where is that function? Where is that function? It's not my scope of my work. I have to do a specific task, and computer is my tool to do those tasks. And it's exactly the same if you think about software in B2B, right? So often programmers have the problem with that because they put a lot of work for algorithmic things, but they say, okay, that's UX UI, it's not important right now. And on the end, the problem is that they don't have time for it, or there's no specific team which is focusing only for that, right? So I think that there's a lot of problems with that. Also, if you think about project management, even if you do it in an agile way, you have to see that all of the milestones should be related with UX UI, right? Mm-hmm. So because a specifics inside of the coding, you don't have to discuss about it on the meetings. You don't have to accept it because you probably accepted it in the beginning of the project. But how exactly the user interface would look like, it should go or from inside of the company and standards which they have, for example, Excel documents which already existing, or I don't know, ERP system, or it have to be developed with the milestones regarding to project implementation.
Sure, sure. Also, the user experience should be based on the tasks that have to be performed in order to input the data or something like that. So I would start with user experience and user interface, because by doing that, we are automatically getting their input, right? The end users, they helping themselves and they helping us. And that means the adoption time for using this software will be faster, because they are actually creating the solution that is easy for them to use.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, no standards for data.
Mm-hmm.
How? Go ahead.
Yeah. So because usually we think about IT system like, okay, it have to do specific things, but we don't think about that maybe after a few years we have to upgrade to something else. And this upgrading for something else is related also with data migration, because if you buy for example, new ERP, which is much bigger, much better, and so on, what about the data which you already have on the older one, which is gathered from last 10 years and so, right? So you can use two systems at the same time, which is not efficient that much, or you have to take all of the data from the older system and migrate it to a newer one. And a lot of times it spends a lot of time and costs a lot of money. But if you think about it on the beginning, so you say on the beginning, okay, this is a system which should take me to my company, which is 50 people right now, to 150, for example. And after that, I want it to be ready and opened, and the database should be in a standard way, so I can migrate it in a simple way to the newer version.
I think nothing else should be added here, because the data needs to be standardized, and that's for sure, and that should be thought well. We should think of that in advance, right? But I think that's not much to say here. And then number 10, I think you should present number 10.
Yeah. Okay.
as it's kind of like your way of thinking, that is represented here, and then we can have a short discussion regarding this point.
Yeah, the number 10, the last one, but not the least one, I would say it's related to using some linear methods to solve the non-linear problems.
You have to provide us with an example.
Yeah. So if I have a hammer, it doesn't mean that everything surrounding me I can use it, right? I cannot fix a laptop with a hammer, probably. And this is exactly what this point means. So all of us have some experience, and we're thinking about solving problems with experience which we already have. We don't think about what we don't know. So, for example, if I have a cough, for example, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I did that, and that's why I have it. But it necessarily means exactly how it was, and because I'm not a doctor, so I don't have any experience about that. And this is normal that we try to do it that way. But if we know that we're doing it way, we can use it as a something which is if we know about that, we know that we have to put more people sometimes to look at the same thing from a different angles. And this is what I mean by this point.
Okay. So let's say choosing the wrong technology or choosing the wrong vendor, the wrong solution that is not appropriate for us because we didn't do enough research or study, or we didn't. This is what you mean?
Yeah. So sometimes it means that you have let's say you have a process which you want to say you can automatize it, right? And you say, okay, Last time I did it, something similar, I use a robot.
Mm-hmm.
But if the robot is necessarily this time is needed, maybe it's like automatic transport,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or maybe it will be more efficient if I will change the process, how people work on this specific station, or maybe some IT system, I don't know, vision implementing system works like that. So, you can have 100,000 ways to solve the same problem, and probably even more technologies which you can use and vendors which can help you with that. But you have to be more open and not think about every problem you can solve in the same way which you already did in the past, for example.
Okay, so that means not wasting time and resources also, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, any takeaways for this episode?
Yeah, I think that the 10 things are, we can talk about it the entire day, right?
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to make it short as possible. I would say that the most important one is to think about every technology, change something, implementing any kind of technology, change something which is existing in the company. And it means that the way people work will change. The management process change, the board probably will change, this needs to change the strategy. So it's the technology is the tool for people to make the company work in a better way. And this is how we should identify it.
Sure. Mine would be the lack of adoption, the lack of user adoption, meaning that, if we are implementing a solution that's supposed to help, that is, digitalized version of whatever was happening before, and if we don't maintain communication with people that are using that, with the end users, it might happen that they will revert to the old approach. So we will have a very crazy situation in which we have this new system that is supposed to digitalize and change, but on the other hand, we are not paying so much attention, to communicate and maintain the new and proper way of collaborating with that solution. And people will find their own ways, just to do things like they used to, but we will have that new system in place. So at the end of the day, it's just not going to end very well. So I think making sure that the implementation, takes time. It's not just we implement it and we expect everyone to know exactly what they need to do within a week. This usually doesn't happen. And if we don't communicate enough, if we don't pay enough attention to managing that change, the people might they might revert to the way they did it before this new digitalization software showed up. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
Okay, so I think we're done for today. Thank you very much for this episode. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe our channel, and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.